So today's adventure, we're actually going to service the car. So it's costing me around £100 to do it myself versus the £300 the mechanics wanted. So what we're going to do is change the coolant, flush it out as well, do an oil change. Got the oil filter there and fuel filter, and then we also have the pollen filter. So I've got a K&N air filter inside, which I'm going to clean as well. So I've got the 6-ton rated jack stand, which frustratingly is taller than the jack stand that came with the car. So I've just put a solid piece of wood underneath to jack it up, just so I can put the actual stands under. So on the Insignias, the annoying thing about oil changes is you have to take the front tyre off in order to change the filter. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, before we go too crazy with taking the tyre off, I'm going to take the plastic cover off. I'm going to just loosen these bolts, because if you jack it up first, as I just realised, the tyre will turn. Now we're going to jack it up. So you want to find a nice solid frame. So I'm going to go for this bar across here. Again, to go up, you're going to keep turning it right. So these are a 6-ton bracket, so they are quite high. I just actually watched the time lapse back, and that made it look super duper easy. So doing the other side now. So the instructions for the jack says do both of them. So I'm going to be working underneath the car. I don't want to get squashed. So these stands that I'm working with today is they've got double locks. So you've got your main one here. You also have this safety lock as well. Okay, we're going back to the tyre now. I'm going to take it off. So as I said, the nuts were loose from earlier, so the top ones are fine. Bottom ones may be a little bit stiff. So what I've done with the front tyre is I've actually put it round on the back passenger side here. So I am working on a slight slope. I mean, it's very small, but this will help stop the car rolling forward if anything is to happen. I've also got the main jack just at a little bit of tension, but this the load bearing one there. Okay, so let me show you where the fuel filter is first, because that's the one I'm going to change first. So you don't need to jack up the car for this one, and you can reach it. So it's just near the back tyre, just here. So it's basically where my elbow is, just in. Okay, so the oil filter location, which is why we've had to take the front tyre off, is there. So if you're underneath one of the support beams, it's quite hard to get to, but that's where it is. Okay, and then for the coolant, it is just underneath. So I'm going to turn a little bit around. So there's a cap here where the torch is shining on. So that's the tap to basically empty it, and you got a little pipe bit just here behind this. So I'm going to put a little pipe, hose pipe, and drain it just here. Okay, so this is the housing for the fuel filter. So underneath here you've got a little screw, which is a flathead one. So you're just going to loosen that. That's going to enable you to actually take off this bit. So we want this one to stay with the car, and this lid here, we'll call it, to stay there. So now that I've kind of loosened the screw, to minimise mess, I got a little quality street tin because it is Christmas. You see where it's dripping a little bit. So what we want to do is get a sandwich bag. I'm going to cover the whole thing. So I like this trick on the boat. And remember, looking at it lefty-loosey. So you want to go left. You want to hold the housing at the top as well. So there we go, just broke it a little bit. Well, now we can do it by hand. You can see how dirty the fuel is. Oh. There we go, look. So just saved a whole bunch of mess. So of course we want to minimise mess as much as possible. So I'm going to put the old fuel in the milk carton here. But first I'm just going to make a filter out of this. So I'm just going to pierce the bottle. This is what the new one looks like versus the old one. You will get a new seal also. So we can see we've got the old green one here. I'm going to replace it, so that's just going to put out. You should just be able to do it by hand. And then we just want to put it in. Nice and loose. Just run your fingers around it, just so the fuel that's currently in the screw bit will help seal it. And it's just the reverse, so you can only go in one way, which is that, and it will just pop straight in. And all we need to do, so having in mind this clean filter now, when you first start the car, it's got to fill with fuel. So I'll show you what to do a little bit later. I might actually skip to this part now just in case you're only changing the fuel filter. So as it says, righty-tighty, here we go. Okay, so we're tight. I'm just going to tighten it all up here. And then I'm going to clean it down with a paper towel. So remember, it's plastic. We don't want to over tighten it, because obviously we want to be able to do it again sometime. And my trusty flathead screwdriver. So again, here we go. So when I leave the car, I'm actually going to put new cardboard down just to check for leaks. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to switch the ignition on and off about 5 or 6 times. you'll hear a whining sound. That's the fuel pump pulling fuel in. Okay, and then for the coolant, it is just underneath, so I'm going to turn a little bit around. So there's a cap here where the torch is shining on, and then just to the left of it, okay, so I just cracked it with a pair of pliers. So it is a pressurized system. So hopefully I can get a little bit out. I just want to move out the way. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to try and get a little bit of a drip. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the coolant's just draining off at the moment. This is my old one. So I drive around 20,000 miles a year, and I bought this car, I think third hand, from a fancy garage. So they obviously took it in as part exchange, and I don't think they actually changed the coolant. So I've gone with the Prestone ready mix. So it's 10 years guarantee. But what I'm going to do first is, once all of this coolant comes out, I'm then going to refill it with just water, start the engine for about 5 minutes, turn the engine off, and then top the water back up, drain it all out, and then the second time round I'm going to do the flush. So that would be water again, let it cool down, and then I'll add the coolant in. So I cleaned that bottle filter that I used earlier. Now I'm just going to add just plain water, just let it go through a little bit more. So this is just plain old water going through at the moment. I can hear it actually picking up through, so it is coming out quite nicely down there. So it indicates that there's no blockages or anything. It goes straight through. You can already see it that's going through a very lighter colour. Okay, so once that's done, I'm going to turn the tap off there. I'm going to add the radiator flush, and then I'm going to top this up with just plain water until it's full. I'm going to start the engine, let it run, top it up a little bit more, and then I'm going to put the cap on once it's hit the fill line, and then I'm going to let it run for just about 5 minutes. So there's parts of the coolant system in here which will already have the old antifreezing, because it works as a big kind of cycle. So for example, you got the heat exchanger down here, so when you add the heater on, this basically is part of your cooling system. You also have a thermostat, which is like a little coil with a spring, and that will open and close as the engine gets warm. Oh, it's cold. Okay, so now that we've emptied the whole system using the Wynn's radiator flush, so it says that it treats up to 7 litres worth of water, and it says for best results, first drain the coolant system, refill with fresh water, add the radiator flush, which is what we're doing now, run the engine to operating temperature, and then let it run for 10 minutes on idle. Stop the engine, let it cool down, drain it off. So that's exactly what we'll do. Okay, so I started the engine up. I got it on hot now inside the car. Car started up first time, no problem. I'm just keeping an eye on coolant level right now. So let's check it out. So the water level has dropped down a little bit in there, but we're still between the minimum and the maximum. So we're just going to keep an eye out on inside the vehicle. So we're waiting for it to get up to temperature. Okay, once we've actually got it to the operating temperature and we've left it running, do have the aircon on hot. So this is going to circulate the coolant, well, not the coolant, the water with the flush. Just keeping an eye out on the level. So I just topped it up a little bit to the fill line, and I put the cap back on. Well, it sure did get dark quick, folks. Joys of winter. But yeah, we're slowly getting up to temperature now. So once it runs to operating temperature, I'm going to actually stop the engine. I'm going to have a little coffee, let the engine cool down. Then I'm going to take out the current coolant with the flush in it, add just water. I'll do it again, where I'll bring it up to temperature, and then I'll let it cool down, and then I will put the new coolant in. Okay, so it got dark super quick. 6 degrees right now, and if you see the top over there, it's only half full. So I'm gonna leave the oil change for tomorrow because that's all I can see, but I'll continue with the coolant, so I'll flush it out after a coffee, and then we'll go from there. All right, so it is a new day, and just check the coolant. So it's going to be raining all day today, so it has gone down a little bit from last night, so I'm going to top it up a little bit. Then I'm going to run the engine, make it nice and warm, and then change the oil to the sump pump here. But let me show you what I'm doing with today. So so windy and rainy all day, and it's pretty much the same tomorrow, so pretty much may as well just do it now. Alright, so next up, put a little box down because it's wet, and also to stop the oil, and I put in a mop bucket a plastic bag. So the sump plug in the middle there, and it's a 13mm socket set. Okay, round two. So, because it was stuck, I used some 3-in-1 oil, sprayed it in the gasket there, and I also managed to find a big one. So my toolkit is actually on the boat. I think I may have mentioned it earlier. So hopefully that's going to help soil out, drive out the dirt and so on. Also run the engine for a little bit longer. So yeah, let's have a little go. Still bloody stuck. Alright, it's working very well actually. So this is a 7-litre fluid extractor pump. It comes with 3 different sizes for the dipstick. So basically what you do is you put the one that fits into your dipstick into the hole after warming up the engine. This big attachment here, just basically push it in. This was separate, and all you need to do is push that in, no screwing or anything, just literally fits in, and it's working very well. So this is basically a litre. So there's 2 litres, 3 litres, 4 litres. So it's basically getting everything out. So the reason I brought this one is because I will be doing 2 to 3 oil changes a year on this car, and then I also have a boat as well where I do 2 oil changes. So effectively I'm going to do 4 5 different ones. Alright, so how do you know that it's done? Well, apparently my car holds 4.5 litres of oil, but first you can hear a slurping sound. And second of all, you can just simply see on the measurements. Okay, so the bottle that I made the funnel from, what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to make another little device down here. So I'm going to basically make it into a drain pipe. So I'm just going to cut around it, tape the 2 bits to each other, and then I'll use that as my tool for tomorrow to change the oil. So let's get rid of the roller cola. So I'm just going to tape them like this, put this underneath the oil filter, and it's going to drain the oil down into my bucket, so you'll see that later. Our fancy tool that we made the other day is underneath, so in the back left side there is a little hose extension bit, and then above it you've got the actual filter housing itself. Okay, so when it opens up it's basically going to go everywhere. On the newer Insignias they're right next to the sump pump, which makes it a whole bunch easier. And of course I'm going to use the old trusty oil pliers, so if I can actually get them in here, this is a bit of a tight fit, they just scrub the whole thing and then you can just pull them around. So this is the space I'm dealing with here. Fucking stupid people. Alright, so that came off. As you can see, it's only going to come out one way. It's the new and the old one. Beautiful. So you do have the gasket there, which I'm going to remove, put the new one on. Yep. So I'm just going to clean it with some paper towel. I'm going to order a new one because you can see that it's rounded off on there. They didn't have any in the local stores though. I'm just going to tip my oil a little bit, because what I'm going to do is when I open it, I'm going to use the oil in the lid to grease the seal around. And it's going to go back on the line. One more for good measure. And then also the top one here. And I only go in one way. There we go, and it's going to go back in and get righty-tighty. Okay, so my little tool worked out pretty good. There we go. Just going to clean around the housing a little bit.
Make sure all the dirt is in the thread.
That's gone. So you can see the shape of it. There's a hole right in the centre. So let's line it up. Let's get a bit closer if I can. So a lot of these bottles have measurements on the side. So mine's 4.5. So I want to go basically up to here. Okay, almost last thing to do is you just press menu. This is just for the Insignia. Then we're going to reset the oil. So, okay, so with the engine ignition on, what you do is you press and hold it, press the brake, and then you'll end up with 100%. Okie dokie, next one is the POLLEN filter, which is in the glove box. So 7mm, and you have one here, one just there, and then there's one behind this cover here, which you just pop out, and then it's down here. You can disconnect the light by just pulling it by the plastic bit just there if you want to, and if it's not working you can just replace it. It is hot. And then the filter is just behind here. There we go. You can see where it says airflow. Make sure you have it the right way. Now here's the side-by-side comparison. I'll let you figure out which one is the new and which one is the old one. Then you want to line up the pegs. for the side piece, you want to have underneath the rubber seal, and then you need to have the door open, and it will just snap back in place. So I need 2 hands for this. Okay, it is a new day. So I have a K&N filter, so their recommended replacement is every 50,000 miles. Now I only bought them a couple of years ago, so I've still got some time left on them, and you can just clean them out. So I'm just going to open it up and just clean it out basically. Super easy to do. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. It says lefty loosey. There's a torque one. Let's get to it. So it's on a little bit of a hinge, so you can just open it up. There we go. And there's my K&N. So you can wash them and reuse them. So you can see the pink bits here versus all the dirty bits. So I'm actually just going to buy a new one. But in the meantime, I'm just going to give it a clean out. So as it says, I've had it for a couple of years. So you can wash them and re-oil them. But at the moment, a new one is about £30, whereas the cleaning kits are like 20. So I'll leave the links below. Okay, so I cleaned out the engine bay using the vacuum. I also did the inside of the car as well. And also did the jet wash on the K&N filter. Looking a lot better, but I am going to replace it, so I'm going to make sure it's dry first before I put it back in. So it's only a 2-second job, but yeah, I'm gonna clean down the car just in case any oil drops underneath. I did leave the car for a couple of days with cardboard underneath just to check for leaks. There was no leaks, so but yeah, it's looking pretty good.